everyone. Let's get dangerous.
This is so cool.
I know.
It feels so right.
It's Jake Ciely.
Opening our minds to new ideas. Kill him!
Who is that guy?
Your mama. You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you're serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in fantasy. Please of the range.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
Game on, you ducks! It is week 11 of All In Fantasy Tales of the Ranks, as you just heard. Little contrition. Yeah, that's not the right word. What is the word I'm looking for? I'm depressed. This is the last show with Chris Meaney of All In Fantasy. But we got new guests coming up that are not going to live up to his standard, but you'll hear more about what is next for Chris Meaney soon. And very soon, and give him a farewell. Like, look, he's already frozen. He doesn't even want to listen. Is that what it was? You were gonna freeze on the show if anybody goes back and watches the live stream. So you can never leave, Chris Meaney.
Am I really frozen? Yeah, it's gonna be an emotional episode. I hate to bail on you at this point of the season, but you've been my favorite ever in the industry, and it's been a blast, man. I'll tell you that. I will continue to tune into all the shows, and your guests may provide a little bit more than what I have over the years, but
doubt that.
I appreciate you for sure.
Yeah, so we are still talking ranks today. I may have a surprise for Chris Meaney at some point because it is the last show with him. But we are still going to continue this going forward. We still have the waivers. If you've heard the last 2 weeks, we have had guests for waivers, so make sure you're giving them a follow and appreciate their support and guests going forward. So I'm not just doing the ranks and waivers by myself. The wrap-ups, still by myself, but there's no video for those. And you can always watch later on YouTube. Somebody actually asked about YouTube. I thought people gave up on watching YouTube podcasts, but people even ask, they're like, where can I watch it? I'm like, yeah. Maybe they just want to see the t-shirts.
Nice.
Maybe just want to see the Mario crossover with Final Space. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Look, you can barely see. Look, early Christmas present. That is Jake and Nicole Funkos behind me, Chris Meaney.
no way! That's awesome.
Do I have to pull it here?
Did you just had to get it? Okay, yeah, you can get them custom, right? Over.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I have the football. I know. I have the football and a microphone. Nicole's got number one teacher and a soccer ball, and it's got the glasses. She's wearing pajamas. I'm wearing jeans as always because I'm never not in jeans, and a little t-shirt and hoodie type thing, and So
that looks like you, but I can't get over how much that looks like Nicole. Glasses, they got the soccer ball there. That's super cool. Very, very.
Yeah, hers actually came out a lot more looking like her than mine did. Mine's kind of, but I don't know. It almost like I think the microphone, the beard's too thick. I think that's the issue. So it almost kind of looks like I'm trying to, and it's very low cut beard. So it almost kind of looks like I don't know if I'm trying to be like a DJ or something. I don't know what it is holding a football.
DJ all in.
Yeah, NFL Nick on the 1 and 2s. All right, so let's talk fantasy, actually. Hey, real quick before we dive into it, here's the fun thing, because this is going to be a fun episode. Just deal with it. That's what it is. I ranked the top 10 worst NFL uniforms of all time. Did you see that list, and did you agree with it? Because our two teams are not my old team. Are 1 and 2. Actually, my new team is what spurred this because I saw people complaining about the Texans uniforms with the all red helmet. I kind of dig I think the problem was if they would have went matte instead of chrome, I think it would have looked a lot better with that horn. But I think that's whatever it was. That was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to rank the top 10 worst uniforms of all time. Number 1 was those god awful whatever brown doo-doo red blue, like the Giants ones that they wore earlier this year when even Malik Neighbors was like, yeah, I can't even make that look cool. And then number 2 were your Eagles. Why do they keep trying to bring back those blue and yellows? Like, why?
I don't know. And as an Eagles guy, I want to get behind anything that they do, but those jerseys are awful. I don't know why. I mean, it's not even the colors. So yeah, I like what you said. The yellow horrors. There's one that I would put a little bit higher, but I like number 7. Packers. What are those? What are those jerseys? Those are disgusting.
Yes, the blue with the yellow circle and then the brown helmet. So I found this out. This is actually only specifically to 2011 because back with this. So there's 2 different ones that were rule situations. That was one of them. It was an NFL rule where you couldn't do too much with your helmet change versus your jersey change, even though it was a throwback uniform. So they had to wear the brown with it. It's like a really weird, And then the same reason, the Rams at number 10, like they weren't terrible, but you remember when they were stuck because they moved and they had to, it was their first move and they had to wear the white helmets with the blue or the gold uniforms and like they couldn't even match themselves because the NFL was like, no, you can't change too much.
I didn't mind the Texans ones. To your point, on Monday, I heard Tirico say like he was having issues with numbers. He says he apologized a couple times during the broadcast and said like, sorry guys, like I'm having issues with these numbers on the back of the jerseys, and I didn't see that, but I mean, he would know more than me. Was it play calling for a long time of his life?
I wonder if it was like a color, not full color blindness, but part of it. And I even put a Canadian one in there for you, and not so much hockey Canadians. An honorable mention. Were those barbershop jerseys? Like, what the hell were those? Like, was the point?
Do you mean the ones like that look like the Giants?
The ones that were red, yellow, or red, white, and blue striped all the way down, like horizontal stripe.
Yeah, those ones are awful. Yeah, I think in I don't know what year it would have been, like 2002 or something. It was like the Habs 100th year, and they just rocked like 7 different jerseys that year. And one was that you talked about, which I imagine watching the game. I remember watching the game and like, this is very tough to watch because like it was brutal. And then those Giants ones, like those Giants jerseys at number 1, the Giants backs are pretty much identical to a jersey that the Habs wore with brown pants. Like I remember when the Giants came out with that picture, I remember saying, "Oh wow, the Giants have just copied the Habs jerseys. It's pretty much identical, man. It's the same colors, brown pants." I remember Price was wearing all that brown with the pads and the blocker trapper. It's very similar, isn't it?
It has red and blue, and then the blue goes horizontal with a thick stripe across the middle with the brown pants. The only difference is their brown pants have the socks that come, or what are they called, socks?
Okay.
In hockey. Yeah. Okay. So they have like they up to their knees with the red and blue there. But yes, the jerseys are almost, the only difference is the blue on the shoulder for the Canadians, versus the Giants. But they're almost, you're right. I thought they were just joking because I was thinking of the old Canadian with the C with the, is that an H in the middle? I never knew that. Is that so it's for Habs? That's why the H is in the middle?
Habitant. Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about those, but those are just blue and red, and I thought that's what everybody was referring to. I never even knew they wore these things. These are miserable.
I know, they're disgusting. Yeah, I mean the Canadians do have a couple awful jerseys out there, and I think that's just they've been around for so long.
So speaking of miserable,
it's awesome
because Meanie's leaving. Yeah. No, it's just a good segue. Let's talk about good real quick. Your most memorable moment in all of podcasting, like what? Like I know one that like I know one that like Joe Pisapia would say was when the Evan Ingram, when I was like sleep deprived.
That's what came to my mind first.
Really?
Man. Like those we used to do, those shows, like just that whole period of like this industry for me, and that was when you and I used to do a couple shows here and there, and working in Toronto with our buddy Pat Mayo. You would come up, came up that one time. That was really cool. And that was the first time I got to meet you. And, Pat and I always talked about you and the rankings and just being in this industry with you. And then we started doing shows together and when we got that show with you, it was like a proud moment for me to be, on target. We won an award. And it was just my favorite part of the day. Like I do like live TV shows and that was cool. And like a live hockey show and that was awesome too. But doing the radio show when we had our own little network there was awesome with you and Joe Pisapia. And I do remember just so many times and so many good laughs. And the Evan Ingram thing was awesome. And stories of your life.
Oh, the dating fails.
Nicole, the dating fails, the back and forth with Pisapia, the times I used to have to put the headset away because you guys talk about Game of Thrones, and I was always so far behind.
Did you ever finish that series?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Years later, I did finish it, and I was able to talk to you guys about it like 5 or 6 years later. So those were really memorable times for me.
Oh, see, this is why we called you Canadian kindness. This is too kind. You're supposed to make this sappy. You're supposed to make this hard. Like, you're supposed to be like, I hate you, go away. So, like, it makes it easier, right? Or that's the whole thing that you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, I had some moments where they were frustrating still with that company. And when I moved on from the show with you and Joe, and I did shows with other people that were challenging. But I didn't have too many... I didn't have too many like dark moments, man. Like I'm gonna miss this industry. I'm gonna miss, doing the show with you and others and following football. I'm still gonna do it all the time. It's gonna be my nature. Like be
still in
doing my own
Flex Weeks
rankings and watching on Sunday and hopefully, yeah, absolutely come see you in New York and draft and like that stuff's just never gonna go away from me. But this part of it will. But yeah, this is so many good memories, man. So many good moments.
I will tell you also, as more to come because I'm not saying anything like this is. I don't need to ask for permission. Like I know there's some things you're not gonna be like, hey, guess what, everybody, so everybody knows because there's some person. But yeah. I will say on the one thing that like I think most people know, Nicole is so freaking excited to come to Canada, to come to where you guys live for the wedding when that is. She is like super pumped about this. Like we want to go to Italy. She some point wants to go to like Alaska to like see the whole area, but like she's like, I can't wait to go see Meanie for his wedding, like go see you and D in like in that area. That
fires me up. Yeah, that excites me. I mean, you guys will have an invite, Nando, Jay, some others in this industry as well. And for those of you who haven't been to Canada or the East Coast, I think you guys are gonna like it. It's gonna be good vibes.
You know what? I was going to get to the rankings, but sorry, we need one more thing. Because speaking of Nando, for a transition for you, here you go, Meanie.
Jerker. Hey, everybody. I'm sorry I couldn't call in live, but I had better things to do than eulogize a guy who's going to his dream job. Anyway, Chris Meaney, congratulations. I'm very happy for you. I know we're all worried about how Jake is going to handle trying to find a replacement. He's not known to overthink things at all. And stubbornly, I think he's going to have to find another Canadian. So good luck to us all. My money's on Eric Young. Anyway, I love you both. Meanie, good luck in the National Hockey League. I think I've been to 3 games live, but you've opened a door for me to bug you for tickets and dote on nostalgia and all the things I've done for you in your lifetime, including inadvertently getting you laid off twice. So I'm very happy this is your own decision this time. I love you both very much. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
As you can tell, awesome. I did not listen to that first. I listened to it.
No, it's good. You know what? The subscribers know. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah, like you saw me throw my hand up. Like I don't know. You can say. Can you say that?
Yeah, it's all good, man. Nando, both of you guys, like you two and Pat, have done so much for me in this industry, and I'll never regret it. But Nando made fantasy fun. He really did. He did a good job of that. Like all the weird randomness that he brought to the table. He came on at FNTSY and looking out for me all the time. Yeah, he laid off twice his jokes. But you both helped me out at The Athletic. You helped me at TQE. You helped me, move on to other spots when needed. So that was a message from Nando. I can't believe he's only been to 3 hockey games. Dude lives in Jersey. Like tickets are like $12 there. You'll see a hockey game.
He's got 3 kids and he's got a new house and all that type of stuff. He actually lives like a whole hour from that area now, so it's not like an easy trip. Yeah, he moved further away. He's kind of tough to visit now. But anyway, let's actually talk some Week 11 stuff. There'll be more, but at least for now, we'll talk Week 11 stuff through the rankings. I'm just going to kind of pick out some bigger things, especially because now we're compressed for time, because that's what happened today. Going to skip right past the Commanders and Eagles because there's nothing more frustrating than that stat that I texted you when I was looking stuff up yesterday, which is just insane. For anybody that doesn't know, Saquon Barkley, 8 rushes of 3+ yards, because I didn't want to take the 1-yard runs, but 8 carries of 3+ yards, ending at the 1-yard line. Derrick Henry has 9. Here's the problem. Derrick Henry is not Saquon Barkley because Jalen Hurts leads the league with 10 attempts from the 1-yard line. Chuba Hubbard is second, by the way, 6. Saquon Barkley has a whopping 2. And everybody, that's why I said I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just thought that was this. If anybody's had Barkley and been frustrated, and you felt like this was the case, there's the numbers. 100% backs it up. But Packers-Bears, I want to talk about. So we've kind of on this said that we're not playing the Watson-Wicks game and back and forth and whatever. Watson's been at 65% routes. Wicks has been 37% since week 6, since they've both been together 100% healthy. I'm still not messing with it, but is that enough of an edge to make Christian Watson like a wide receiver 4 gamble for you against the Bears? Or are you with me where you're just like, you know what? I'm probably still going to go with better or worse than Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Let me put it that way. Or the same bucket.
Our guy, probably same bucket. I'm in a league where I have Brian Thomas Jr. and I have Christian Watson, and I'm going to probably battle back and forth. Like, who's more likely to score a touchdown? It may be Christian Watson, just given that Matt Jones is under center. Unfortunately for our guy Brian Thomas Jr. But I think he's interesting from a flex play standpoint. He's still behind Romeo Doubs, of course, Jaden Reed, but he's got 13 targets, I think, in his last 2 games. And, if you're looking for that high upside play, just know that you could get a 0, but he could also maybe score a touchdown or 2 for you. So, yeah, he's in that flex conversation this week.
So in this same game, I agree with you. And I thought the move, as we all know, let's talk about this as a whole. The Bears fired Shane Waldron, which is not the only thing that could fix the issue here. But I brought this up, and everybody was like, well, great, they're going to Thomas Brown, who failed in helping Bryce Young in his rookie season. And I don't think that was 100% fair, because no, it wasn't good. But let's remember fondly, we're remembering fondly things here today with your last podcast. The first half of last season, everybody's like, Adam Thielen, holy crap, he's a wide receiver 1. Adam Thielen. And then he fell off. Twofold is kind of at this point of his career, it's hard to maintain that explosiveness over course entire season, but defenses also figured it out. But what I said is, initially last week, I had Keenan Allen in the drops of the waiver column. I changed that this week to say, hold on, just maybe one more week, because who plays 60% in the slot just like Adam Thielen? Who is that veteran presence that you can rely on just like Adam Thielen? So maybe, just maybe, Thomas Brown says, look what we did last year with Adam Thielen, and Keenan Allen has some hope. Are you with me on this, or is it just the problem being DJ Moore and Odunze just creates a more of a headache than at least Bryce Young had last year? Because Bryce Young basically was Adam Thielen and nobody else.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It really is a mess. I think it's just everything from Eberflus to Waldron to the offensive line to Caleb Williams. Like, he deserves a lot of the blame as well. I mean, he held onto the ball a lot in college and took a lot of sacks, and that's what's happening too. Like, I see in our stats 3 seconds to throw. Like, that's too long. Like, it's too long in the NFL, and especially for a rookie quarterback, like you have to be more decisive, and I'm not seeing it. So interested to see, how this offense looks, moving forward, like what changes there are, maybe just, kind of more aggressive and, like I said, decisive with his throws. And I think that would benefit a guy like Keenan Allen to kind of lean on the, the veteran in the slot. So I'm still down on DJ Moore, and I'm to the point where we've said this a couple weeks ago. Like, it's 4 or 5 points that you're banking on this guy over the past 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I think if I were to pick one, it probably would be Keenan.
Would you go Christian Watson over them?
Yeah. Just no.
Would you go MVS?
I think I would.
Just for the
I'm
upside?
thinking about what we talked about. Yeah. What we talked about last week. We said that there's going to be a shot or 2 taken from Derek Carr.
Or 3.
They hardly had football in that game. So, I think he had like 29 snaps, or ran 29 routes. Like, they actually didn't even own the ball at all in that game. I was at it. It felt like Atlanta had the ball the entire game. Like, I think they ran the ball 30 times, and Kirk dropped back like 40 times as well. But maybe this one is a little bit more, I don't know. I'd say Cleveland still just runs the ball on them. So I don't know, man. Like, I think MVS is what you got last week with MVS is probably best case, but I think I would roll him out over some of these Bears wide receivers.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it, and I could even see. Let's talk this next one. You brought it up, Mac Jones. I mean, we might not see Trevor Lawrence again this season. There's talk about surgery. And why with nothing to play for, and we saw how bad the Mac Jones experience could be again. We've already known that, but on top of it, Brian Thomas. I threw this in the column because I noticed that the Lions. There's not a lot of teams that run heavy man coverage on defense these days, but there's a handful, and the Lions run man coverage the most, 40% of the time. That's the most, 40%, so 60% they're still not. However, Brian Thomas already had a Mac Jones problem, and on top of that, 2.48 yards per route run against zone, 1.44 against man. He gets a double dip of bad things, the Mac Jones experience and the struggles against man coverage this year as a rookie. But is it enough to... Man, this pains me. I have sitting under my Funkos is the Brian Thomas signed football jersey, but I have Brian Thomas in the 40s. I have Brian Thomas down by Rashad Bateman and Christian Watson and Rome Odunze, to give you an idea, because it's the like I would say if Trevor Lawrence was under center, I'd be like, all right, you know what? I'll ding him a little bit, but it's not going to be a lot. The double dip, 40s, and I hate to do it, but I mean, if it feels like we kind of have to.
It really does. And I mean, you've been able to pass on Detroit on their defense. Like, they've given up some big plays. Of course, we know that they're such a tough run defense. But yeah, I got into this yesterday with Dane on the Sirius show, and I guess I was a little hard on Brian Thomas, but I had said I see a rankings and it's not even close. Like Jennings and Cedric Tillman and these Packers wide receivers. And he was pretty shocked to hear me say that, because we've talked about him all year, but it's the situation. It's Mac Jones. It's a guy that, it's hard to trust. I feel like they probably do drop back and throw more times than they run. Like, maybe they try to establish a run, but they're just not going to have success, I don't think, running the football. But I can't do it. I just think there are options. Like, I think you just need to, like, these Packer guys we're talking about, like, team totals. Maybe just look at Vegas and look at team total to help split the hairs if you want to go that way. Like, the Packers are going to score points. Like, how many points is Jacksonville going to score? Like, it's like CD. Like, CD may not score any times to get targets and yards. That's great. Maybe we can live with that. But I don't think we could count on that for Brian Thomas Jr.
No, and I mean, he's not even 100% himself playing through, to his credit, through the rib injury on top of it. So that's a big issue. All right, so let's jump to this next game here, and Vikings-Titans go right past their Lions side of things. I mean, it's the Lions. You're cool on that. Also, the Jaguars have given up a rushing touchdown to everybody except for the Browns. That was in week 2, and that was not the Nick Chubb Browns. And then the Vikings last week, despite the fact that they had 126 on the ground, somehow they didn't get into the end zone. Thank you a lot, Aaron Jones. Oh, by the way, Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson and who else? Josh Allen and dude, my freaking here. I'm just gonna run through it. I don't even care on this show because it's your last show. I just want to tell you, I actually did this stupid guillotine league for Nando just because it's Nando. So you say yes to discuss
because of those guys?
Dude, look at this team like that went down. Josh Allen, Aaron Jones, Achane, Jefferson, Debo, Barkley, Nakua, and Otten.
Oh my goodness!
And I went down like that's not a testament to my highest.
The bet at one.
My highest score was Nakua, of all of them, and like, of course, I mean, I didn't have Burrow or Chase, which that gave those two teams. That was actually Jamie Eisenberg and Nando that helped their teams. So like that was already a chase from behind to come up to. And the only positive spin I'll put on it is that my bench of Jaden Daniels, J.K. Dobbins, Drake London, and Terry McLaurin wouldn't have made a big difference. Like this team was freaking. I nailed this team and was like making the perfect waiver pickups and bidding and everything like that. Like this team was ridiculous, and it went down in freaking week 10.
All at once. It's like that's the thing with guillotine leagues, right? I mean, hit or miss. Those are all awesome players, and some of them had really good matchups.
I know.
They all crapped the bet at one, and here, right?
Yeah. Well, so this isn't the best matchup, but so we've kind of said on this show a couple times. This is now, I think, like the 4th or 5th, and they're all been wide receivers where we've been sitting here and saying, why are they ranked high? Why are they ranked high? Why are they ranked high? The most recent was Xavier Worthy. Like, what are we doing? Can we stop? Before that was DJ Moore. It was like, what are we doing? Can we stop? Here's mine to you this week, Meanie. Can we stop with Jordan Addison? Like, why are people still ranking Jordan Addison in the time of 35-ish? He had 17% of the team's targets, 17% before Hawkinson came back. In the 2 games he's been back, 15 and 13. You know how many games he has over 8.1 fantasy points? 2. He has 2 double-digit scores. Jordan Addison's no different than an MVS or Christian Watson at this point.
I totally agree. He's been on the sits. Jay Felicia's giving me a hard time. When I've been doing the starter sits, he's been doing them for me, like putting them together. And by the way, he's going to take those over at FTN. He's going to kill it. He told me, like, Addison again? I was like, yeah, maybe I should mix it up. It's just in the comments, people are like, why am I sitting Jordan Addison? Like, Sam Darnold's been so good, MVP candidate. Why would I sit him? You know, his ceiling is high. He can score a touchdown. But I think the comparison that you just made with those 2 wideouts, you know, and like a Watson VS is very similar. And also, like, Sam Darnold hasn't been all that good lately. He's got 5 picks over his last couple of games. So he's kind of coming back down to earth. And just you have TJ Hawkinson. I think 45 to 46% of the snaps, but he was much more involved last week. So, Addison and Worthy, too. Like, people are still playing Worthy, just hoping that, you know, he has like a huge. I mean, he ran what's than anybody in that last KC game, but Mahomes not even looking his way.
No, he's not. And Xavier Worthy, everybody just remembers week 1 and the 2 touchdowns, and then just forgets every game since. So the next game, Raiders and Dolphins, made me think of, again, the whole Toronto when I met everybody, and Gary and Thorne, by the way, so which makes me say, like, hey, you know what? We should play the one other clip I have for you. How about that?
It is not. You got a clip for Gary?
No, I didn't. Look, he set that up like that. I just really, I thought.
I love Gary, but that would really shock me.
Well, because here's why. Like, I actually was going to ask Garion, but I thought so I texted Nando at like 8 or 9. I was like, oh, dude, like, it just hit me. I'm like, why am I not doing this? We got to get some clips from Meanie on his last podcast. And then I was like, I was seeing if he was going to respond, and he did. And then I was like, oh, this other person I should text and see if he can do it. He's probably already in bed now, given where he is in his life. And I was like, but maybe he could do it first thing in the morning. And I was going to include Gary, and then like, I don't know, like, I don't want to like Gary at like 11 o'clock either. Like, he probably doesn't even remember that I have it. I have his phone number, but this person I haven't. So this is the one that you'll appreciate.
What up, Meanie? It's Mayo. Wanted to congratulate you not only on your amazing run that you've had over the past decade or so in the fantasy sports industry, but not having to work with Jake anymore. Doesn't that sound great? I can't get rid of the guy. It's been like 10 years, and Jake and I are still doing the same stuff every single week. It's like Groundhog Day, but you, friend, have found a way to break the cycle with all of this, and I could not be happier for you. I love listening to this show, so I am going to miss that. Granted, and I am going to miss hearing your voice all of the time talking about the football stuff that I like, but as people know that we're basically neighbors, so I'm going to see you all the time anyway. So a big congratulations to you. I wish you all the success in the world, and I very much look forward to Jake having his new co-host, him doing your voice and talking to himself.
Why did Nando and I didn't listen to either one of these. Why did Nando and Pat make it all about me? Both of them.
I love it, man. No, it's great. Kudos to you for doing that, and for Mayo and Nando for taking the time as well. Again, like, yeah, you guys have crushed it for me. I love it. Pat,
are we the 3 best friends that you could ever have?
Absolutely, yeah, ever of all time. Yes.
Actually, here, do that real quick. Your top 3 co-hosts of all time, just that you've done shows with. It doesn't even have to be like your show.
It's you. It's you. It's Mayo, and it's Nando. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of
EY
content with Nando. EY knows he's got a special place in my heart too. I didn't do a whole lot of shows with Nando, but those times on the desk in Toronto, live television, and how risky he was in doing things that, hey, this may be really awesome, or it may just be really crappy. And it was always awesome. So, yeah, those, you guys for sure. Top of the thing. And there's Pisapia gets a shout out, of course, and Eric gets a shout out, and some great stuff with those guys as well. But I've done more content with you guys over the years.
The thing I love about Nando is he would try to find the most random stuff, and he'd be like, what do you think about Jalen Polk this week? And I'm like, dude, he's like, he's not even getting routes anymore. He's like, but why not? Like, why not? Like, what if? And it's like, no, that's just not. You can't just be like, what? He's like, but what if? Because everybody liked his downfield ability. But what? Like, no.
It's not like thinking outside the box. It's just like holding on to hope to something, and you'd always have a player or two that maybe would be completely off right across all sports, which you just love that about him.
So speaking of the Patriots, see, there we go here. Anything in this game where you would use somebody from the Patriots outside of Stevenson? Which, by the way, I found this out. This is another one where it's like kind of goes to the not the Addison. What was the one that I was just thinking of? Where it's like, the Barkley thing. Like you see something and you're like, am I just making this up in my mind because I'm getting frustrated, or is it really happening? And I'm like watching these Rams games and I'm like, why isn't like everybody runs against them and nobody can anymore? Like what the hell's happening? And it's not the fact that they're facing bad teams. Since the Rams bye, 5th fewest yards per game. Started with the Raiders, but Vikings, Seahawks, Dolphins. And so if you take just those three, it actually gets worse. They're the 4th fewest yards against and the fewest yards per carry at 3.1. Something happened. I mean, I'm not a defensive line guru, but I noticed it and I went back and looked and I was right. Like the Rams run defense has flipped. Like this is why I always say don't plan too much for the playoffs, like playoff matchups, even if you go by position, because the Giants flipped one season, went from really bad to really good. The Saints went the other way. Is this enough to worry you about Stevenson? Because he's basically been the only Patriots player we could use.
Yeah, I noticed it too, and it was discussed on the broadcast, and that the Rams have been much better at the line of scrimmage. They have given up some big plays through the air, so I think if you have Ramondre, you're still playing him just based on all the touches and the usage that he will get in this game. But I think moving forward, it's something to certainly keep an eye on with some of the Rams matchups, that they are giving up some big plays through the air. I can't side of Douglas. I saw Kendrick Bourne was benched and took a back seat.
I have no interest in Douglas anyway.
Right. It's like, what's the ceiling? So, like, do they start to give Polk more run down the stretch for our guy Nando? Maybe, but you can't trust these. At this point of the season, I mean, you can't trust them.
Would you go Ramondre Stevenson or DeAndre Swift this week?
I'd probably still go Swift.
Okay.
But
I would
think
too.
that Ramondre would touch the ball more.
Yeah. I actually hate that, like, we've got some, like, Najee Harris has been on a roll, but he gets Baltimore. James Cook gets the Chiefs, which hopefully his passing game saves his day. There's, like, a lot of running backs that we like Chase Brown heads to the Chargers. Hopefully he comes through. I mean, he had a tough matchup, and he came through in that one. So, but it's just, like, a lot on here where it's like, this is kind of, like,
KC.
That's the one that, I was just mentioning that, like, and then, of course, like, the ETN against Detroit. But like maybe they play from behind, but again, Mac Jones playing from behind. Like, what do you do? So let me ask you this: how far down in this conversation of running backs do we have to get for Audric Estime? Like, because I know. Look, I said this in the waiver column. I had Estime as my top running back pickup, and I said, but 1, don't go crazy. 2, don't expect this to necessarily continue, but take the chance. I think I've said this before, and I've said it to you. I think Sean Payton's still evaluating this team himself. Like, I still think he's trying to see what works and see what his plan is maybe for 2025. But all that being said, he's the interesting thing. So if you follow Coach Speak Index, he actually goes with 2 different things. He has 4 categories. One of them is, are they trustworthy about the depth chart and practices and stuff like that? The second part is a completely different category, is usage. So Sean Payton's actually pretty accurate when he's talking about what ends up happening with his depth chart and all that. The usage, he's 50-50. So that's what I'm saying, like, this might not be, but taking the chance. So, like, Estime this week, would you roll out Estime as an RB2? An RB3? He got the vast majority of the carries. It's just also Javonte Williams still got the 2 receptions.
Yeah, and Javonte is going to get the receptions. Estime is not going to really do that. I think where you have him is fair. I have him roughly in the same too. Like, it's in the ballpark of Austin Eckler and Jalen Warren and Gus Edwards, who played 14 snaps, maybe a touch more than that. But he every time he was on the field, he carried the ball, and that's going to be the same with Estime. I picked him up in a couple spots last week. I believe Peyton. I was like, I'll pick him here and there where I can, and maybe they'll lean on him down the stretch. But I was actually pretty surprised that Peyton, played him, because this guy tends to just say things. But you still have McLaughlin and Javonte there, so I can't move him higher. I'd say that after this game, he does lead the team in carries and rushing yards, but it's not enough for me to put him ahead of even Etienne or Rico Dowdle. Like,
right? If
you want to play him over Rico Dowdle or Madison, fine, by all means. But Madison will probably touch the ball more. He'll catch a couple passes, and Rico Dowdle's been catching some passes too. Like, I could maybe get behind if you want to go Rico and like, hey, else is a mess, whatever. But Rico has been the lead there.
I think the problem here is that, like, if you think they can maintain with the Falcons because their defense can hold and keep this game close, then it's Estime. But what if the Falcons break through on like 2 plays, 2 drives, and all of a sudden they're playing from behind?
And
Goodbye, Estime. And speaking of which, I just wanted to throw this out real interesting. This is another one. Bijan Robinson, we know larger share when they're down. So he actually has almost 68% of the touches when they're down by a touchdown or more, compared to just 25% of those touches for Algier. Do you know what the split is when they're up by a touchdown? It's a perfect 50-50 on the nose when they're up by a touchdown. So something to keep in mind. For like, this is why somebody said, would you trade Barkley for Bijan? And I was like, no. I know it's frustrating because they saw my stat. I'm like, I know it's frustrating, but I know Barkley's use every single week. I don't want to play this Bijan game, especially looking at their schedule. There are some games we expect them to kind of roll through. But this is another interesting one, I think, for trade purposes. Going forward, as of today, since Wilson took over, this is a stat I want to throw out for the argument. George Pickens, 5th in fantasy points per game, 8th in team air yards, 7th in touchdown to target percentage, and 2nd in yards per route run since Russell Wilson took over. The biggest thing is, if you look at the numbers overall, a lot of the numbers are similar. It's really the touchdowns that are really boosting him, which he didn't really have any from before with Justin Fields. But going forward, knowing that it should be Drew Lock out of the bye, Malik Neighbors or George Pickens, rest of season, Chris Meaney. This is one of your biggest... Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say this is one of your biggest last calls of the rest of the season. We're gonna have to hold you on this one.
I mean, it's Pickens. You just had the numbers, and it's Russ. He's looking pretty good, man. They with Courtland Sutton last year with the double-digit touchdowns, and also the matchups moving forward. Like, he's got a couple. Pittsburgh actually going to play inside the division here down the stretch. Baltimore's been coughing it up. Cleveland, you got the Bengals. There's a couple tough spots mixed in there. I think the Eagles and the Chiefs, but yeah, it's the quarterback play is absolutely atrocious in New York. Drew Lock's not going to help the situation.
So, speaking of atrocious, no, I'm just kidding. You actually mentioned somebody's name earlier in the show that I think might be stopping by right now? Question mark that we have to bring in and this is look.
Oh,
Joey
boy.
P.
What's up?
Let's
How
go.
you doing?
Oh, man.
He actually mentioned you about 5-10 minutes ago
I
when
am
we were
gonna
talking
cry.
about memories.
I really am going to cry on this show. I really am.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness, this is your life, Chris Meaney. That's what this is.
That's it, man.
Don't worry.
Joe,
Jake asked me
from
one of
you,
my
though.
favorite memories
Wait.
earlier, and I couldn't help but think of our times on target. With Evan Ingram, that situation, but just so many laughs. It's so entertaining. I learned so much from you guys. That was like my first real I had done radio shows before, but they weren't sports heavy. And that was like really kind of getting into the day-to-day of the sports heavy shows and putting down you guys would always say, hey, you got 1 week to watch this show and that's it. 2 weeks to watch this movie and that's it. And I just have to take the headset off and you guys would recap, what you watched, and it was just highly entertaining.
That was actually Joe. That was when we came up with the rule of thumb. What was it? 3 weeks for a movie, 1 week for a show? Was that what it was?
I believe it was. I believe that's what it was. It was during the Game of Thrones era at its peak.
Yes.
So we're like, look, I understand you get behind a week, whatever. You get a week to catch up. Otherwise, we could spoil and talk about it. Like, I don't care. And then I believe it was 3 weeks for a movie that was dropping. That was what we decided was relevant. During football season, maybe we were a little lax. But Chris Meaney, you're just getting started, man. You got a lot of fun things ahead of you we're super excited for you. I know. Well, let me rephrase. I'm super excited for you because I'm a supportive friend, not like Jake Ciely. And also on top of which, I mean, the personal news too. I mean, that's what's really exciting. I can't wait for you to take on all that stuff because being a dad and all that stuff.
You can actually say it. Nando spoiled it, so you can.
That's well, being a dad is. I mean, that's the best thing you're ever gets. The best job you're ever gonna have right after working with Jake Ciely. So those two things right there. I mean, I don't know if it gets much better than that. I can tell you that much.
I actually appreciate one. Hold on, I appreciate one thing. Like Joe actually made it about you. So I played a clip from Mayo and Nando, and 90% of they made it about me instead of about Meanie.
Well, I made it a little.
Mayo, how did you get rid of Jake so easily?
Trying to shake him for years.
Nando was Jake overthinks everything, and it's going to be so easy for him to find another Canadian. And then Mayo was like, it took me 10 years, I still can't get rid of him. So like, yeah.
The one thing I'll say too, those shows that we got to do, that was such a great time for me too. That the three of us every single day for almost 2 years, I believe it was. That was such a fun environment, a fun time. And then Meanie, you and I worked after that together, on daily basis for many years, and all the stuff that you did. Like, this business is very funny. It's kind of like every other business. You have friends, and your friends, if their work is good, you kind of pull each other up by the bootstraps. Some people go in one direction, it's good. Other people go in another direction, it's bad. And then those friends pull those people from the bad back up with them. And it's so important, these relationships that we've had over the years. I mean, this is like 10 plus years that now. We're getting old together, all of us.
I know.
But
it's sad.
That is what's so special and so important. And I am so lucky to have spent so much of my career personally working with you since the FanDuel days when we were doing the FanDuel show over that back in the day, doing On Target together, doing all those DFS shows together, doing Black Book stuff together. So I'm just excited for you, Meanie. And, I don't want you to disappear from me now. That's the only thing.
I will never. No, I mean, I'm always going to be looking for that flex invite, so you'll see me at least once a year.
There you go.
Also, we talked weddings, so hopefully you make a trip up northeast a little bit.
Oh,
at
hell
some
yeah!
Point. But yeah, man, like it's like you said, it's a big family, and I think at times we've all kind of went through it, but we've had each other's backs, and I think at the end of the day, that's what's meant most to me, right? Laid off this job or moved away from this job, and all of a sudden we're doing live star videos, or podcasts with Joey every day. You're jumping on TQE, writing baseball write-ups.
There's a blast from the past,
right?
If we sat and listed all the things,
and
it would be hilarious. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I did have Joe.
Big family here.
I had a question I wanted to ask for Meanie because I've kind of been like,
Mike's so much louder than everybody else. Is that like in your contract, Ciely?
It's supposed to be on commanding. That's how I was supposed to do it.
Right.
Do I need to turn it down? Nobody ever tells me anything until after the fact.
I mean, it's loud. I'm just saying. And I tolerate you already. So louder you is already pushing the limits.
Here, is that a little bit better for you?
Oh, it's infinitely better. It would be better if you could turn it off altogether. That would really be.
I mean, that's what most people say anyway, but I usually don't find it. Like, I actually usually get the other thing. Anyway, the question I wanted to ask Meanie, I've been asking him questions throughout this podcast. I saved this one for when you were on.
Okay.
So, Meanie, what's your most hated game that ever made you play?
Oh my god, that two truths BS.
I
can
two
never
truths and a
wrap
lie.
my head around that game. I'll tell you what. I don't know what it was, but I used to sweat like shit. Are we gonna play this game again today? Because I've been so awful, and it's been so embarrassing. And then we would play it. Somehow I would just F it up. I don't understand why I screwed up that easy game.
You would confuse it often too. You'd be like, that one's a lie, that one's a truth, but that one's also a lie. Or that's the thing. Maybe it was the day we played it. I don't know what it was, but you did struggle with that one. Remember the one with the cards that he used to make us play with the higher or lower? Oh my god, that one irritated me. It was like bad card sharks and fantasy had a baby. I don't know what that was, but and then there was the Tinder one too, where we're swiping left or right, and neither Meanie nor I.
That was a Nando one. I pulled that one from Nando. Blame him for that.
Yeah, I'll give you credit for that one though. I really give you credit.
Hey, Meanie, two truths and a lie. You ready?
Yeah.
I know two truths and a lie. Here we go. Your favorite people to ever work with. The two truths and one lie. Me, Jake Ciely, and let's see, who would be a third one, Jake, that we could throw in there? That Meanie. Meanie, who else have you worked with? Let's go Pat Mayo. Let's put Pat Mayo in there. So two of these people you love to work with, one you don't.
You're trying to set them up.
Lie. Yeah.
On purpose.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, how am I going to pick that?
Well, I mean,
there's no lie.
It's Ciely.
Yeah, see,
I think it's Ciely. No, it's he asked me earlier my faves, and I didn't know that you would pop in here. I know that he was going to be having clips from Nando and Mayo, but I give you guys all your flowers anyways.
Well, there you go.
There's no lie.
Likewise, man.
This dude's giving up so many flowers. I tell you what, like he's too nice. I told him this is where Canadian kindness came from. But
Canadian kindness, one of my favorite wrestlers ever.
Forgot
about that for a second. We had, we should have been logging all of these things over the years too. There's some good stuff in
the
there.
Canadian kindness, like what was like the throw up, like the cruise.
It's instead of Stone Cold Steve Austin crushing beers, he's crushing maple syrup. He's just like,
I forgot about
the ring is so sticky everywhere. It's just a hot mess. It's just
Joe, since you're here, by the way, at Joe Pisapia 17, you can give a little shout out to your stuff, by the way, before the hell you get out of here, because this is what you came on. You don't want to?
Everybody
Fantasy Pros, the football podcast, got the sign before. If you look at this later on YouTube, got the Funkos behind them too, which I showed Meanie. I actually got Funkos. You can see them right here. Me and myself.
Got his own Funko.
Me, myself, and I. Those are the three you have.
And Nicole. Yeah, that's actually not Nicole. That's me dressed up as Nicole. That's why it's me and myself.
He would have 3 different Funkos of himself and just one of Nicole.
If anybody would, he would. Yeah.
But thank you.
Him anyway.
I know. Actually, if you saw the live video, for everybody that doubted that she's real, actually just hired this woman to come by. She was like, hey, $50, come by, you just randomly kiss me and then leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I used to do. And then and then we, then you found Nicole, and then that was it.
I mean, still, when we were kissing, I go to rub the bald head, and it's not there. It throws me off.
Oh, Meanie, what's the when you're looking back on the career in the fantasy space too? I mean, as somebody who's covered, that's the amazing thing about Chris Meaney, everybody, is that this is a guy who does football, baseball, hockey, NBA, golf. I mean, I saw. Papa Shot on TV the other night, and there's now I'm sure there's fantasy Quidditch at this point. Like, you could do anything, Meanie. Of all these things, like, was hockey always the number one? Was that the one that always got you most excited? I'm just curious. Like, for somebody who covers all of them, does them all so well, there had to be one that was like really your favorite, that really got the juices flowing. What was it?
It was hockey, because I mean that was the passion when I was younger, right? I mean, I could skate pretty much before I could walk, and I was playing hockey pools, with my dad at like age 6 and 7, just learning the sport. So, but the juices were really going with football, because I always knew that I wanted to get into NHL, whether it was a reporter, play-by-play, fantasy, whatever it may be. But I knew that I had to, quote unquote, own football and like be a respected football analyst before I could really dive into the hockey. Even all the stops I had, it felt like the bosses were just like, okay, this guy's nice. We'll just let him do his hockey, so he'll do other things to kind of shut him up. And I feel like that happened in a lot of my spots. I mean, maybe even here at FTN, we'll let him put up hockey rank because we'll let him do a hockey show. But the juices were always flowing with the NFL, because working with you guys, and you guys were always on top of your game, and I wanted to be on top of my game too, and understanding the sport, learning the sport more with you guys as well. So I always felt like hockey was like the comfort level. Of course I was doing research, but like it would come to me a whole lot easier. But like, yeah, you're talking like juices flowing, heart pumping. It was doing NFL shows.
You're going to learn this now. Now that you're going to have a kid. So what happens now is you have to let go of one of those sports. So just want to let you know, something's got to go.
I'm glad that's where you went with it. I was not sure.
No, this happens. This is why
Adam went anywhere.
Is so good. Adam Ronis is childless. That's why he's so good at all the sports and the betting and the fantasy all these years and stuff like that. And I told him, I was like, if you ever have kids, man, for every kid you have, that's one less sport that you're able to follow.
Yeah. It's caught up to me over the years without the kid. So like I had to put some things away, like the NBA and the PGA. But yeah, yeah, I'll be prepared for the long hours, no sleep.
Do you want to join in a fantasy question, Joe, or are you going to head out? Your choice.
I could do a quick fantasy question, sure.
Let's do one game. How about that?
Okay.
We'll do one game together like old times. And like
Okay. All right.
Seahawks at 49ers. How about this? I'll give you the toss-up, and you have to wait for Meanie to go first, just so you know. It's not like the old days where Meanie was always third. We were going to actually let him go first this time. But
Okay.
So something we have been on the team with is Jackson Smith and Jigba is wildly inconsistent, yet people want to rank him inside the top 35 every single week. Every single week. Now, no DK Metcalf finally had his game. What a shock. When you throw more than 5 yards downfield, Jackson Smith and Jigba can do things. However, DK is coming back after the bye, Meanie. Did this one game potentially open the eyes enough of the Seahawks to get Smith and Jigba deservedly in the top 35, or are you automatically just kicking him right back out because Metcalf is back, Meanie?
I still think he's borderline 35. They may have learned something after that one game, but the fact that DK is back and he's the alpha guy, he's the downfield guy. The JSN probably goes back to having that short A-dot average depth of targets. So I think that this game could be fun, though, from a fantasy perspective. We were talking earlier about guys like Brian Thomas Jr. Like, just give me JSN with a capable quarterback and a guy that and team that could score more points. So it's definitely DK, sour on Lockett. JSN is like a low-end receiver.
Joey?
Yeah, I think everybody keeps ranking them where they do because nobody wants to miss out on that big giant week in the rankings. I think that's true, right? So it's like, let's put him as a wide receiver 3 right there, just in case he has that big week and it doesn't crush me. I don't know, when people and teams show you who they are, I think you should believe them. So when DK Metcalf is playing, it doesn't seem like he does much. Now, we are in that latter part of the season. Tyler Lockett is an older player. So I think this would be a much easier question to answer had we not been coming off the bye. Because we're coming off the bye, that's also a point in time, I think, where a lot of teams reset, reevaluate what they're doing. Yeah. So I think there's a better chance this week of him cracking the top 30 with DK Metcalf than there's ever been because they're coming off that bye, because it's a time to reevaluate. And look, this is, big in-division opponent. You're throwing everything against the wall literally here against the 49ers. The 49ers are now in the driver's seat after the Rams loss. So to me, I do think he's ranked like wide receiver 29, 30 this week. I think that's about right. And I think he's very startable, especially considering the buys.
You know what I just realized? We can't let Joe we can't let Joe leave before we do something. It's something we started and we used to do we could figure out, there's a way to figure out where JSN would rank versus other players.
What is that way?
How would we do that?
I don't know, but I have a feeling that like Meanie might have to tell us because it is his last show. There is a way to do it. Let's see. It's been kind of a while since Meanie's ever done it.
I know what we can do.
What can we do?
We can make a list.
Nice. There you go.
There you go.
Let's make a list.
That's about as
you guys got me into wrestling as much as anybody can get me into wrestling too. So.
Toss-ups. Here we go. Let's do this then. Jalen Waddle coming off that game or JSN, Meanie?
Oh man, I'm playing Waddle. JSN.
Meanie?
Wait, hold on, Meanie. You're playing JSN?
Okay. JSN.
Joe? I agree. I'm playing JSN too. Yeah. I've had it with the Dolphins. Everybody knows I've already had it with the Dolphins completely. This was 2 weeks ago. I said, I'm done. I'm out. Everybody in the betting pro world nerds, I did a whole monologue about how the Dolphins can go screw.
Oh, okay. Here's one. This needs context. Joe, you can go first on this one.
Okay.
A healthy Amari Cooper or JSN?
A healthy Amari Cooper.
Meaning?
But I don't think that's a fact. I don't think that's a
I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and for Josh Allen's really struggled lately. I mean, he's starting to turn the ball over the past couple weeks. He's, some healthy bodies there. I'll lean Cooper, or I'll lean JSN, over Cooper against the Chiefs. Yeah.
How about somebody who was our boy and just kind of disappeared of late, Chris Meaney, Ladd McConkey or JSN?
It's the Bengals. Probably have to throw the ball a little bit more than 18 times, but I'm going to go JSN.
Because it's the Bengals, I'm gonna go Ladd McConkey. Give me all the Chargers this week. I'm sorry, I've just seen enough of this in today Bengals secondary. So
okay, Quentin Johnston or JSN?
Quentin Johnston, no hes.
Meanie? Don't make me like Joe more than you on the last show.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to go out.
Well, too. I mean, hey, you're looking for a touchdown, quitting scoring touchdowns. Yeah.
All right. Well, then last one, Jameson Williams or JSN, Meanie?
You know, it's JMO. It's always JMO for me. I'll take the highs and the lows. I don't care.
Yeah, well, they're both highs and lows, so you might as well take the highs and lows. The guy, a 13-point spread, who's got a team total probably of like 35 this week. I mean, it's just, it's crazy, man. And I think they're gonna cover the 13. I really do. Just like I thought last time they'd cover it against the Titans. Everyone thought I was crazy. Well, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Mac freaking. Watch Mac Jones.
No, it's not even that. You know what it is? It's Dan freaking Campbell, because Dan, normally this is the perfect trap game, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think Dan Campbell understands that notion. It doesn't exist for him all the time. It doesn't exist. And the fact that they did play a very imperfect game against the Texans, I think kind of, straightened them out a little bit. It wasn't like a cake victory, against the Texans, a lot of mistakes, a lot of interceptions. So I think, you get back there and say, hey, we did not play our best football. We need to get back on track and pound the hell out of this team. And that's very Dan Campbell. And that's why the Lions
Campbell came up through the strength of victory in college, helping you and never let it go. That's what happened. He was like, oh, we need to blow out everybody by 40 points to keep our ranking high. It's like, that doesn't matter in the NFL, Dan.
It doesn't, except the fact mentally it does. Like when teams just fuck other teams, they I mean, I know because I've coached some teams recently that have done that in the years past where we were beating teams by 30, 40 points. And it's the same mentality. Like you just feel unbeatable. You're just crushing everybody. So when you do get in a little bit more of a tighter game, you just have that belief everything's going to go your way.
Any parting words for Joe there, Meanie?
I love you, buddy. That's it.
I love you too, man.
I'm thankful for all the opportunities. Yeah, you mentioned the FanDuel show. I butchered his name, I believe.
Oh, all the time.
And I remember
that's how we met.
I remember Adrian Reed was telling me it's don't butcher it, man. Like, and I think that was in my head, like, gotta get this. Like, guys have butchered it. I don't know if you had a friendly conversation with him off the top. So it was just in my head as the host, like, don't butcher this, butcher the butcher. No, man, so many good, all the time. So many good memories, like the FanDuel show on Target. We just walked through some of the black book opportunities you give me as well. So, no, man, keep crushing it. You are also one of the best in the industry, and you're going to be thing for quite some time, and you're going to continue to kill it, man. I love it. I'm thankful for everything, brother.
I appreciate you. I love you, buddy, and I'm excited for 2025 is going to be a big year for Chris Meaney. Let's go. That's what I care about.
Before you get out of here, Joe.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram.
Oh my God! Somebody put Jake on a couch with a blanket, please. Stop this man. Do not let him out of your sight.
Are you sure he's not drunk? Like, are you sure you don't drink?
I don't know. The funny thing is that day made me want nothing more in life than to get Jake Ciely hammered just once to see what it would really be like, because that was a taste of it and it was amazing. Like that's
the closest you'll ever get.
I don't know. There's a wedding coming up for Meanie. Who knows?
I appreciate it, Joe.
You might have to try it.
See you later.
Thank you. Funny enough, as a complete sidebar, as we continue to talk this, I accidentally almost Nicole, I hate the taste of alcohol. Nicole is actually 100% allergic to alcohol, allergic. And I found out, she always told me about it. I found out how allergic she actually is on accident, because I accidentally served her alcohol and poisoned this woman because we were out. We went out to dinner. So look, they had a s'mores creme brulee, and I'm like, that's original. Let's get that for dessert. We both did not fully read the menu because we just saw s'mores creme brulee, and
alcohol.
We get it, and we're both eating it halfway through, and she's like, "Is there something off about this?" And I was like, "I think it's just the chocolate they use, or maybe the burnt chocolate they used, or whatever it might be." And she's like, "It almost tastes like they put alcohol in here or something." I was like, "No, it's a creme brulee." It's I doubled down. I was like, "I think it's just the weird chocolate," because I usually taste it too. I had somebody who didn't cook off all the rum in a rum cake, and I was like, something's wrong with this cake. But anyway, so we finish it, and she's just like, I don't know. And so we pull up the menu, and it had a stout as part of it, which. Yeah, and also I found this out from her daughter afterwards that stout's a super heavy beer too on top of it, which has a chocolatiness to it, which is probably why they used it. So we're driving home. Did not make it home before her face started going like pale white, and she's like, "We need to hurry up home." And I know she doesn't really like care. Like she ended up puking, but severe, like itchy skin, like keeled over, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like I never realized that. So yes, I accidentally poisoned my wife with alcohol. So there you go.
Man, the alcohol allergies seem like the worst. I have so many allergies, and a buddy of mine is allergic to alcohol as well. And if he just has a sip, it's like Will Smith off that movie. It's like,
oh yeah, they're like, yeah.
What is that movie?
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. Like it's like
it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean the sweats, the face, the swollen. Sounds like an awful allergy to have.
I never knew. Like, yeah, that's the level of peanuts. All right, a few more things before we get you out of here. Forever. T. Higgins, as simple as if he's back, you plug him in, because I have him top 20 if he's back. I would play him over Tyreek Hill if he's back.
Of course. Yeah. It just
okay.
It's as simple as that. You play him, you risk it because he's that good.
Tyreek Hill, not inside my top 20. Are you okay with that?
I saw that. I'm okay with it. Yeah, I mean, he's dealing with the wrist injury at the moment. Tua doesn't look all that great. I'm fine with it. I have Tyreek in some spots. Your flex league. I'm obviously context dependent. You're playing him most likely, but yeah, according for rankings wise, you can't have him as a wide receiver one. He's had one good game essentially.
Week 1. Week 10 was actually his highest weekly fantasy finish since week 1. He was still only wide receiver 23. In that range since week 1, he's finished inside the 30s, 40s, and 50s every single week. And even with the decent performance, it was 10.2. 10.2 was his highest score. His highest since week 1. Yeah, that's how brutal it's been. Then let's continue, because I think these are a few of the toss-ups we should do before you get out of here. So Tyreek Hill's down. But the other one that I'm severely down on, we already brought up Brian Thomas, is CeeDee Lamb at 29. Is that too harsh? I feel like that's more than fair. Here, I'll give you a stat. You actually get to go out with history being made. I'm going to pull it back up, Meanie, to make sure I get this right. Because in the entire history of forever, of all time and eternity of the NFL, this is not since the merger. This is not since Super Bowl era. This is since the NFL, football, AFL, everything has existed forever. No quarterback with 20-plus attempts and 10-plus completions has ever averaged fewer yards per reception than Cooper Rush. The previous low was 4. He hit 3.5 yards per completion. Yes. Wow. The other name that was in second place was some random dude that I have never heard of in my life. That's how bad it is. So, CeeDee Lamb, is this just an overreaction to one game, or is 29 against the Texans defense fair?
No, I think it's fair. And, I had him at 22 against the Eagles, and I was thinking to myself, the Eagles secondary had been pretty good. And I was just like, man, I think bottle up CeeDee. So I had him around 22, 23. Now, seeing what we saw from Cooper Rush and how it could go sour again this week, and we could get some Trey Lance. And then it's the Texans, and they just turned Goff over 5 times. One thing I'll say is it's a Monday night game, so maybe the sun is set there in Texas. I'm not sure, but you can't trust CeeDee Lamb. I think the ranking is fair, completely fair. I said it earlier. What's the best case for him? It's like he gets peppered with targets.
He's Wan'Dale Robinson.
But the touchdowns are not going to be there. And what did we talk about last week? This is not the same Cowboys when Cooper Rush was under center a couple years ago. Their offensive line's atrocious. They can't run the football, and they're giving it up nonstop. I mean, really, Jalen Hurts didn't even have to throw the football if they don't want to. What are the Texans going to do? Joe Mixon is leading the NFL in touches per game. He's going to flirt with 30 touches again, and they're going to run all over them. So the possessions are going to be down for Dallas as well. So I think the ranking is completely fair. And some of the guys we talked about are like Ladd McConkey is right beside him. I wouldn't hate anybody if they wanted to roll with Ladd McConkey against the Bengals and what could be a more fantasy-friendly game.
Yeah, that 4.0 person was Dan Pastorini in 1972. You know what's crazy though? Is that again the threshold was 20 attempts and 10 completions or more. Of the top 10, 2 more quarterbacks were from this year. Bryce Young on the 15th of September at 4.7 and Bo Nix on the 29th at 5.0. There's only 10 quarterbacks that have had 5 or fewer yards per completion, and 3 of them for this year. Cooper Rush, Bryce Young, and Bo Nix. You right?
And you know what? We may get a fourth. There's still a few weeks here before the end of the season, and there's some bad quarterbacks.
Desmond Ritter's about to go back under center, it looks like.
Well, I just saw, Trevor Lawrence is already rolled out. No surprise. I just saw that come to my phone. But, waiting for him to be shut down probably for the rest of the year. If you're the Jags, what's the point?
No, what is the point? And like I said, Desmond Ridder under center, likely for the Raiders, it sounds like yesterday. And then as we get out of here, Meanie, of course, by the way, the Athletics, where all these rankings are and everything, and of course the podcast wrap up later this week. But before we get out of here, I did have one more question for you. It's kind of like a fun one. Favorite, not like co-host and all that. Favorite fantasy moment, like or player, like whatever you like. Like mine is, I always remember being in on Arian Foster before most people, and it was like I just remember that season, and it's just like something like that. Like, do you have like a moment? Like, is it like a one game? Is it a player? Is what's really sticks? And it's got to be football. And I know we're talking hockey going forward with you.
It's good. Blah, blah. There's a few things that stick with me. I started playing fantasy football in the late 1998, 99, and really got into it was my first league. I started to run with some of my buddies and getting them into it. And LaDainian Tomlinson stands out as just the cheat code, and it was always a big fight to LT in fantasy. So I'll never forget that. One of the calls that does stick with me is one time I was doing a wide receiver video rankings, and I had Devontae Adams as the breakout year for the Packers, and I had him as one of my targets. And I just remember that was when I first started reading all comments. And then I remember Mayo and maybe you probably shouldn't read every comment. It won't make you feel good about yourself. And it was who's this loser? Why are you doing that? Why? And then Adams had the great year, so that stuck with me. Then my first my big industry league was with Ronis. I don't think you were in it. It was with Ronis and Sankata and a couple of the. Oh, that may have been in it or not.
That New York
one. I won the league. And it was Christmas Day. Des Bryant had 3 touchdowns, and I remember being in the finals, I think, against Ronis and beating him by a point because of Desi. And I know he was a big Cowboys fan, so I saw Ronis the next time. I was always just throwing up the X to Ronis because he's one of the goats in the industry too. So those memories, those players and things like that do stick with me. But LT was the fantasy goat. Megatron, the fantasy goat, those guys they made fantasy fun. Here we are talking about the highs and lows of big wide receivers. Those guys balled out all the time, no matter the quarterback.
The LaDainian Tomlinson was one of the first years I played, and stupid people from my church, I joined their league because they're like, hey, join our league too. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it was points only. And that was the LaDainian Tomlinson 30 whatever touchdown season. I was it was over by week 14 because the person who had LaDainian was just running away. We were we're already done. What's the even point of doing this? I was points only.
Yeah. No, I don't think I ever played the points only. Maybe
God bless your soul. It's stupid. Yeah. It's definitely not made.
Too. That was a big Christmas Day. Those big performances, those fantasy performances, Jamal Charles had one. I'll never forget those big. And Jamar Chase has one, this past Thursday. I'll never forget those. Holy, you have those guys, and it's just that's what makes fantasy fun. I mean, you could be on the other side of it, but it's also nice to just kind of stick it to your opponent. Thursday Night Football is done, and you're done too. You're not going to beat me this week.
It's completely over.
I just had 65 points from Alvin Kamara on Christmas Day with all those touchdowns. No.
Around that time, it's funny you mentioned that because one of my favorites was that year that I picked up. I don't remember why, whatever the quarterback had to be that year. Maybe I was just playing mix and match or streamers or whatever. The year that I had Desmond, no, not Desmond Howard. Who the hell was it? The one, Drew Bennett, and then I picked up Billy Volek for that 3-run stretch of Billy Volek, and then he just went bananas with Bennett, and
that.
To have that, that was. Good.
It's funny those memories stick with you, right? I'm sure people listening and watching too have those memories of when they first got into fantasy, and and just maybe at the time you thought guys were like I saw a lot of Chris Ivory jerseys in New Orleans this weekend. I remember like the little bit of a run that Ivory had, with the Saints or with the Jets, and you'd think at the time like, oh, these guys are awesome.
You didn't see any Tim Hightower jerseys?
Moments. Saw Hightower. I saw
that run was
Deuce
ridiculous.
McAllister.
Not to do with football, but why are people still wearing Mike Bibby jerseys? Like the old Vancouver Grizzlies. Like, what is it about the Mike? Did they go on sale for like $5 one year or something?
I think you and I saw one together in New York. It's a very popular jersey.
It's like every time I go somewhere random.
I know, it's really. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the Grizzlies and the throwback. People maybe they like it. It's odd to me that they would like the Grizzlies. To begin
we were
with,
down in North Carolina. Nicole and I were down in North Carolina with Jay Felicio for an AEW event and saw 2 Mike Bibby jerseys in North Carolina. It's so random.
This football stadium here in New Orleans, this was the first football, and I've seen it at other stadiums like hockey. Eric Young talks about it all the time. It's one of the things he hates most. He goes to Nashville and he sees other jerseys. Yeah, he's like, it bothers him, but I understand it. Maybe Nashville, it's like a tourist city, and whatever, they want to wear the jersey and they want hockey. But in New Orleans, I must have seen like at least 15 different teams, and I guess that's a tourist city too, I suppose. Like, hey, I'm an Eagles fan. I want to watch a football game. I'm gonna wear Jalen Hurts. Like, I wouldn't do it myself, but I actually wore a St. T. I saw like 15 different, and like some throwbacks too. Like, I saw a Dan Marino Miami jersey at the game. Like, it's just these many random teams, and I didn't really understand why it happened, but it's a conversation starter, I suppose.
I will say, to throw out a shout out one more time to Nicole too, by the way, one of the best things ever. We were watching a game and they focused on somebody in the crowd, and it was like completely a team, like you said, like we're watching. I think it was the Mets in the playoffs, and it was like completely. I think it was like a Braves jersey or something like that. She's like, "That's so stupid," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah. I love you. You're the best."
Yeah, it is dumb. I agree. Yeah, especially in the playoffs too, or something like that. The Braves, like, dude, they're not playing. Like,
they're done.
Division rivals too. Like, forget about it.
You're not trolling anybody. You're just making yourself look stupid. But
like, I would never wear that. I would never wear like a division rival jersey in another barn or stadium, especially if that team wasn't playing. It's just setting yourself up for chaos,
stupid.
Anyways. Yeah.
What won't be as stupid as trying to do this show. I mean, it will be like not the same, but it won't be stupid going forward with guests and everything. Still at Chris Meaney, which by the way, and any parting, celebration, happiness, goodbyes, whatever it might be.
I have too much. I want to thank you. You and I will be in communication all the time, well, forever. But I want to thank you on air. For everything, man. Like all the opportunities from day one meeting you. I knew we were gonna always hit it off. We've always had great conversations, and whether it's sports or TV shows or movies and video games. Learned a lot about the video game music from you over the years as well. Like, just a true friend, and also like just really helped me in this industry through the highs and the lows. Whether it's just the fantasy and the sports aspect, or just like from, the day-to-day business side of how things go, like in this industry. So I remember I got laid off at The Athletic, and, you called me right away, and, you helped me get a job within minutes. So I didn't have to stress about what was next. So like, just kind of felt like I was all in your corner, and I do really appreciate that, man. So, I love you, and I am sad that this will go away, but I'm thankful that built a really nice friendship with you. So I appreciate it, and all the people and all the support on this show too, and FTN over the years. Like, there was times where I felt like I didn't bring it for episodes and shows, and always had some nice feedback, and people seem to enjoy it, and do appreciate the support here over the years, and following my work. And thank you for all that. And you're going to continue to crush, of course. Like, this show is always still going to be watching. I'm going to tune in. Just because I'm not going to be on it, I'm tuning in all the episodes. You can bank on that.
You're gonna make me. It's getting like misty over here. Yeah, like when I tweeted yesterday, I said like hockey genius, hard worker, everything like. But most importantly, friend. That's like what did it come down to? Like never would have thought heading into Toronto that one time and being like, oh, who's this person I have to do shows with? It ended up being like one of my closest friends. I will say this to you, Chris. This is how much it means. My texts on my phone, I delete a lot, and I only keep a certain amount that I don't delete regularly, like family, Nicole. You are one that has made the cut of like you don't get deleted, like I don't clear you off. It's a very short, like it's basically the screen, and you've made that handful. My lifelong friend. You are in the group with a lifelong friend that doesn't get deleted from my texts.
I love that, man. That means a lot. It's jokes that you delete some of those messages. Probably good advice for me to keep track of some of the messages.
No, because I just like the fact that I don't have to like scroll off the screen.
Scroll down.
That's what like
right
if like everybody's just so you've made that cut. But congratulations to you, Chris, and I'm happy that you're living the dream here coming up. And we will be back. I will be back at least, and then maybe we'll find out like a guest spot down the road because you still have to like keep in connection. I know the fans are going to be missing you. So congratulations one more time to Chris Meaney. It was just kind of like a moment of silence as Meanie leaves.